Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. We are here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Library and Archives, and we're here with Chris Butler, who says he's not a punk. You were in an art band, but
I was a greaser,
But-
which was like pre-punk.
Well-
All right, a greaser first, and then this hippie thing came along, and you had to grow your hair. No, no, punk. I was into Huey and the Numbers Band and the Waitresses. We were trying to be like arty and creative. Punk stuff we were better musicians than most punks.
Okay, right, but it was a DIY aesthetic, right? It had to be, right? So that was maybe where the connection was, right? And it was different. We were changing the world at that point.
We were trying to. We were very subversive, but absolutely right. The connection was. It doesn't matter what the genre was. It was DIY all the way. If you were art band, punk band, noise band, band, whatever, absolutely, 100%.
So why Cleveland, Akron, Kent? What was it about this region at that time? Was there certain people? Was there certain clubs? Was there certain something in the water? What was it?
All of it came together, plus a good dose of economic desperation. Also, it's wonderful when you're totally 100% ignored, all right? Because then you can do whatever you want, all right? I was going to cuss, but I'm not going to cuss, but I'll be bleeped out. No, I don't want to cuss. I don't want to cuss. I want to come across as, educated and smart and, semi-refined. I grew up relatively well-behaved, kind of, and punk was okay. Punk was for English people. I was too old to be a punk, and I had listened to too much jazz.
Well, okay. So, but it really did influence people. What started here in this region went on to influence people around the world.
Oh, absolutely. This is like, one of the earth centers of creative music, in all stripes and all genres. I mean, Pere Ubu, Say No More, all right? The Numbers Band, Say No More. DEVO, Say No More. I mean, this is fantastic area that produced incredibly important people who are, in fact, it's still going on. This is an amazing place for original music, period.
You mentioned Bob Kidney and how important he was in influencing really the whole scene around him.
Oh yeah, I credit Bob with just being the absolute source for so much of this stubborn refusal to do anything other than what you really want to do, believe in, and insist that you are making art and not just commercial music. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the man. He is the man. He is still the man.
Right. They're still doing it. It's still out there.
50th anniversary, man.
You also mentioned that there was a sort of sweet spot when the drinking age was 18, and when they raised it, it changed the whole scene. What happened?
Well, it's a kid's kind of thing. I mean, 18 was arbitrary. If you had a fake ID, you get it when you're 15, 16. There were 15 or 16-year-olds sneaking into the Cove at Kent for, shall we say, lax enforcement by the door person. But when it became 21, it's kind of hard to fake when you're 15. And yeah, it killed a lot of killed bars, killed live music. That was very significant. Want to bring live music back? Lower the drinking age.
And not just live music. This was original music, right? I mean, that was the difference, was that you had an audience that was trained to want to listen to not just covers. That came sort of later, right? But original music.
No, it was always parallel. I mean, there were always, in Kent especially, there was a couple clubs that's where the cover bands were. That's where the people that you had no respect for went. Mainly the college kids, but the arty-farty crowd came from all over northeastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania, and they wanted to hear something special, unique. They were a very educated audience, and they got it in spades from the Water Street scene.
Right. So it was as much really a dialogue with the audience that was ready to hear what you had to say than just geniuses up there creating some new art form.
In a void. No, you did not have a void. We were absolutely blessed with an audience that was receptive. It's still in Akron. They still go out. You know, they're older people my age. They still go out to shows to see new, original bands.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And you also talk about radio, right? I mean, you have to credit radio with creating an audience and for playing. I mean, back in the day, those DJs could play whatever they wanted. It was before Arbitron, and they were told to play a playlist, right?
Exactly. Before the formats came in, the top 40 formats, whatever, call it radio, whatever. Yes, the FM stations were experimental, free-form DJs. My particular career was helped utterly by college radio, which still kept that. They might be low-watt stations, but listen, the Waitresses, on our first tour, we played every college that had a college radio station that played our record. Thank you. And that's how, we were able to build a following that way. Right. We couldn't, the one or two stations that major FM stations in any kind of major urban area that did play us, that was certainly helpful. But most of the time, we were playing colleges.
How did you manage to break through and get signed to a major label doing this kind of art rock for a very educated audience in small college towns?
One, I have no idea. Two, there was an enormous amount of money sloshing around, and the labels were sometimes, depending on the label, were willing to take a flyer on something that was just a little on the outside. Tin Huey, for example, was 100% signed because of all the money that was sloshing around from the Rumors record by Fleetwood Mac. Warner Brothers had to do something with all this gelt laying around. So they decided they were going to sign 10 bands and give them nice contracts, 2 records firm, and I don't think any of us made anything.
These weren't Fleetwood Mac type bands, though. I mean, what made them go in the other direction and get these bands that were way out on the left fringe?
Well, this is completely kind of what record people would do. I don't know if I like it, but hey, the kids like it, so hey, what do I know? No, that's true. That's true. Frank Zappa said something about that. That back in the day, the guys with the cigars said, I don't know, but the kids, the kids like it, so hey, whatever. Yeah. Now it's kids with kids, whatever. It's young people, young hires with MBAs, and they have 360 contracts, which means they get a piece of everything, merchandise, your web hits, whatever. It's awful. But DIY is the only way to go.
It's sort of coming back to that because a lot of bands are doing it themselves and putting stuff out on Bandcamp, and they're touring and they're selling merch and they're doing what they have to do to stay alive.
Yes, absolutely. There are now places where you can go and do that. Of course, that means anybody can go ahead and do that. So obviously the field is rather full right now. But you know what? There's plenty of great stuff. There's more music now than ever, and there's more good music now than ever. And it's ridiculously healthy right now, even though it's never going to show up on any kind of top 40, no Billboard chart.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that back then there was literally relatively few artists doing stuff, and even fewer getting signed and getting outside their own hometown. Now there's millions. So. Which is better? Who knows? I mean, it's great that music is still happening, and you can find it now because you do some searching on the internet, and you can actually find music these days. So
I live in Akron. There's a wonderful yearly festival called Porch Rocker. There are not only are there the official Porch Rocker bands, but any band can set up on a parking lot and kind of hijack the whole scene. And this summer especially, it was wonderful. I saw band after band that were just like high school kids. We're not a part of it officially, but we're going to play for our friends. It was wonderful. So the DIY independent, I'm gonna, God damn it, nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna be out there. They did, they're still doing it. It's great.
And they learned it from you guys. So thank you for that. And thank you for taking a few moments here. Great event. Best of luck with things. Let's stay in touch.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. I am a subscriber to Cool Cleveland. I get it every time.
Thank you. You'll get your check in the mail for that.
All right. Okay, that's right. Butler. Chris with a C. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for taking a moment.
Is that okay?
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.